Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Kimberly Stanger, and I'm excited to talk to you about why Deerfield Township School should have an ESL program to meet the needs of our multilingual learners. As the number of multilingual learners is increasing in our district, we need to pick the best model to meet the needs of our students. During tonight's presentation, I will discuss the academic, social, and emotional benefits of the ESL push-in model that I would like the district to consider for the upcoming school year. I will discuss the differences between the ESL push-in model and the ESL pull-out model tonight. I will also explain how the ESL push-in model works and how it can improve outcomes for all students, not just our multilingual learners. According to its mission statement, Deerfield Township School District is to prepare each student with the real-life skills needed to compete in a highly competitive global economy. This will be achieved by providing a comprehensive curriculum, the integration of technology, and the professional services of a competent and dedicated faculty, administration, and support staff. Guiding this mission will be federal mandates, including the Every Student Succeeds Act, the New Jersey Student Learning Standards, and local initiatives addressing the individual needs of our students as determined by the Board of Education. According to the New Jersey School Performance Report, as of the 2023-24 school year, which is the most recent year available, Deerfield Township School had 326 students from preschool to 8th grade. Of those students, 22.4% were students with disabilities, 5.5% were multilingual learners, and 54.6% were economically disadvantaged students. Deerfield Township School has 40.2% white students, 42% Hispanic, 11% Black or African American, and 6.7% of students are of 2 or more races. The number of multilingual learners is increasing each year, according to the New Jersey School Performance Report. For example, 11 years ago, in the 2013-14 school year, Deerfield Township School had 3.5% English language learners. With the increase in the number of multilingual learners in state law, Deerfield Township School must have an ESL program to support our multilingual learners. We need a program to support them culturally, academically, socially, emotionally, and linguistically. The term English language learner, ELL, and multilingual learner, MLL, are synonymous and will be used interchangeably through tonight's presentation. Why does Deerfield Township School need to implement a program for our MLs? Well, according to the New Jersey State Law 6A15, whenever there are 10 or more multilingual learners in kindergarten through 12th grade enrolled in the school district, an ESL program shall be provided. All instructional program alternatives shall be designed to assist multilingual learners to develop English language proficiency while learning the knowledge and skills for academic content areas to meet or exceed the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. Again, this also supports our mission statement. According to research, program models generally fall into 5 broad categories. These include sheltered instruction immersion, transitional early exit bilingual education, maintenance late exit bilingual education, two-way bilingual education, dual language immersion, and finally, English as a second language. So, tonight you may be asking, which model is the best model for our multilingual learners at Deerfield Township School? And I believe the answer is the ESL push-in model. I believe it is the most appropriate model for a small district like ours, also for our small number of English language learners and our limited resources. Program models for MLs vary significantly, not only between states, but even between districts within the same county. For example, Vineland Public Schools, which is in our county, their programs are going to look very, very different from Deerfield Township Schools. So for example, they are going to have the bilingual classrooms. They're going to have the dual language. They're also going to have the ESL programs as well. And that is basically due to their number of students that they have, their availability of resources, and additionally, the funding that they receive. The proposed ESL model is the ESL push-in model, as I stated in the last slide. These students will receive instruction in English with support tailored to their language proficiency level. The push-in model basically works like this. You have an ESL teacher who will work collaboratively with classroom teachers to support emergent bilingual in the English medium mainstream classroom. According to New Jersey State Law 6A15, English as a second language program basically means it's a daily class period of second language acquisition instruction within a language instructional education program that is based on a student's English language proficiency, that teaches the English language development standards and incorporates the cultural aspects of the student's experiences in their ESL instruction. According to Herrera Murray, English as a second language is a language program that serves students identified as having limited English proficiency by providing a certified teacher to help with language support within the classroom. ESL programs are sometimes more expensive than other programs, but in such districts like Deerfield, an ESL program model is sometimes the only adequate alternative. And according to Herrera Murray, these reasons include complicating variables such as a small number of identified MLs, and some districts are unable to find qualified bilingual teachers, as I stated in the last slide. What are some benefits of an ESL push-in model? Some of these benefits include the focus on language development and academic achievement, individualized instruction. The ESL teachers will use scaffolding techniques to support comprehension, integration with core subjects, where language learning happens alongside academic content. A culturally inclusive classroom, where ESL programs respect and incorporate students' native languages and heritages. Research-based success. Studies show that ESL students outperform peers in all English settings in the long term. I also would like to focus on a little bit of research from the AFT Educational Issues Policy Brief from 2002, which outlines key factors influencing what program to implement, including the availability of qualified personnel, funding constraints, the number of multilingual learners and their specific needs, and educators' professional judgment and best practices. So after careful consideration and research, I believe the ESL push-in model is the most appropriate for our school and our ML population. A push-in model allows Deerfield Township School to maximize staffing by reaching more students efficiently without needing to create separate ESL classrooms. It also reduces scheduling conflicts, keeps the MLs in the general education classroom, and builds stronger collaboration between ESL teachers and content teachers. So the question about how to effectively educate non-English speaking students has been going on for well over 250 years. And there was a pivotal moment in this ongoing effort, which dates back from 1974, with the Supreme Court case Lau versus Nichols, in which attorneys argued that it was unjust for a Chinese-speaking student to receive instruction solely in English, a language he did not understand. The Supreme Court ruled in Lau's favor, determining that denying him support constituted a violation of his civil rights. This decision set a precedent for multilingual learners to receive instruction in both their native language and English. However, Lau versus Nichols did not mandate a specific instructional model. Instead, it granted schools the flexibility to implement programs based on their individual needs and available resources. As Color in Colorado stated from 2015, all schools in the United States must be prepared to meet the challenge of an increasingly diverse student population, including those who do not speak English. According to the documentary Speaking in Tongues, by the year 2025, 1/3 of public school children will enter kindergarten without speaking English. This statistic demonstrates that schools need to have a model implemented to meet the students' needs. As I mentioned in the slides before, that there are also social and emotional benefits that come from an ESL push-in model. Some of these benefits include that the students are able to remain in the general education classroom alongside their peers. Students have the opportunity to fully participate in classroom activities and build those positive peer relationships. The general education and the ESL teacher creates a safe, supportive environment, which also helps lower the affective filter, and students feel connected and confident and are more likely to engage deeply with learning. Now, I'd like to focus on some disadvantages for the pull-out model, in case any of you are wondering which model would be more appropriate for our learners. And I'd like you to consider these following disadvantages. The first disadvantage is there is a loss of core instructional time. When students are pulled out during classroom instruction, they're often missing those grade level content in subjects like math, science, or language arts. Number two, there tends to be sometimes social stigma and isolation, and we especially see that more with our middle school students. The pull-out services may make English learners feel different or socially isolated from their peers, which then can impact their confidence and participation. There's also a lack of integration with classroom learning. ESL instruction outside the classroom may not align with what's being taught in the content areas, leading to fragmented learning and lack of confidence and coherence. The ESL teachers may not have access to the classroom plans, making it difficult to provide meaningful contextual language support. Also, there's missed opportunities for peer language modeling, which is very important. English learners benefit from hearing and interacting with fluent peers. Pulling them out only reduces these natural language development opportunities. And finally, number 5, there's a limited collaboration between teachers. In many pull-out setup, the ESL teacher and general education teacher work in silos, which can reduce the effectiveness of support for ELs. It is important to think about these disadvantages when we're deciding for our upcoming program for our students here at Deerfield Township School. Here's just an example of some of the roles of a general education teacher. The teacher leads the core instruction, plans lessons aligned to New Jersey state standards, implements accommodations and modifications for those students with IEPs and or 504 plans. And also, the general education teacher will collaborate with the ESL teacher. The roles of the ESL teacher would include advocating for the multilingual learners, supporting the language development, delivering targeted instruction, assisting with content access, monitoring language proficiency, and also working closely with the general education teacher as they both plan activities for the students in the classroom. The ESL push-in model not only is about the general education teacher, the ESL teacher, and the learner. It also includes the school administrators, families of our multilingual learners. So for example, our teachers, they're going to be co-teaching and collaborating. They're going to be using language scaffolding. They're going to be advocating for their learners. And also, they're also going to be using cultural responsive, having a classroom that is enriched for those learners. The school administrators will also be working closely together, building that family communication, offering professional development, such as sheltered instruction observation protocol that can be used in the classrooms of all grade levels, and also the scheduling and the resources. Our families of MLs, we want to build that partnership and that communication with them. We want them to feel welcomed. We want them to feel valued. We want to support their language growth also at home and not just in the classroom. And we want the families to be advocates for their children and also to offer feedback to them. And our students also play an important role as a stakeholder, which means they're going to be actively participating. They're going to be taking risk when it comes to language. There's going to be peer collaboration to help them work together with their peers. And also, importantly, having them be a self-advocate for themselves, which is going to be very, very important for them now and in the future. An example of some of the push and support activities that the ESL teacher and the general education teacher might take place within a typical day might include activities such as pre-teaching the vocabulary before a science experiment, using a graphic organizer such as the Freire model. The ESL teacher is modeling academic sentences and language frames during a discussion. Additionally, the ESL and content area teachers are supporting writing by modeling and using graphic organizers and helping multilingual learners generate questions during a read aloud. And finally, in a typical day, You might see the ESL teachers creating a test with a word bank or sentence starters to help MLs with various English language proficiency levels. The ESL teacher will quietly check in with the students during independent work. And this is just an example of just what a typical day will look like and does look like in an ESL push-in classroom. The identification of eligible multilingual learners will go through a multi-step process. This includes 3 steps that the District Board of Education shall use at the time of enrollment in order to identify multilingual learners. According to the New Jersey State Law 6A15, below, to identify MLs enrolled in the school district, each District Board of Education shall administer to each student enrolled in the school district the State Home Language Survey. The District Board of Education shall use the statewide Home Language Survey to determine which students in preschool through 12th grade have a primary language or languages other than English and therefore may be an ML. The statewide Home Language Survey shall be completed in writing or by verbal interview by any individual with knowledge of the student, such as a parent, trained school personnel, or a bilingual or ESL teacher. Step number 2. Following the administration of the statewide Home Language Survey, the school district shall conduct a records review process to determine whether the student is an ML. And step number 3, the District Board of Education shall then determine the English language proficiency of all kindergarten to 12th grade students who are found eligible through steps 1 or 2 above, and whose primary language is other than English, by administering an English language proficiency assessment. This assessment will be the WIDA screener. Students who do not meet the department established cut-off score on the English language proficiency assessment shall be considered MLs and shall be offered entry into the District Board of Education's Language Instruction Education Program. If the student's home language survey warrants the WIDA screener and the student receives an overall score of 4.5 or lower, he or she will be placed in the ESL program with the parent's consent. The school administrator will send a letter home to explain the goals of the program. If the parent consents, the students will receive support from a certified ESL teacher for 1 instructional period, which is 40 minutes per day during language arts class. Student placement will be centered around the recommended WIDA grade clusters, age and/or English language proficiency levels to achieve the targeted language, which is English. The following slide, I'm going to focus on curriculum and administrative questions and answers. In what language will students receive formal initial literacy instruction? Formal literacy typically will begin in English using ESL strategies to support language learners. In what language will other content areas be taught? The core subjects, math, science, etc., are taught in English with ESL support to scaffold language and content learning. When will formal literacy in the second language be introduced? Literacy in English starts right away. If students are literate in their first language, that knowledge transfers and accelerates English reading. How will multicultural curriculum be integrated into the program? We will be using books, media, topics representing the students' home cultures and languages. Classroom or school-wide activities acknowledging students' cultural backgrounds and heritages. Using the students' cultural knowledge as a foundation for learning. Encouraging students to share personal experiences, traditions, and languages. In what language will homework be assigned? Homework, if given, is usually assigned in English. but may be differentiated or supported with visuals, translated directions, or native language glossaries, especially depending upon the student's English language proficiency level. What assessment measures will be used for evaluating second language acquisition? We will use the WIDA Access scores, formative assessments, iReady, Achieve 3000, and the Can-Do descriptors. This part of the presentation will focus on the staff, parent, and community questions. The ESL teacher and the administrator will coordinate the program and support various stakeholders. The teachers will be evaluated using the Danielson model 2 to 3 times a year by school administration. The administrator will provide professional development to support teachers and paraprofessionals. The administrator and the ESL teacher will hold 2 annual meetings for parents of the multilingual learners. We are fortunate in our district to have an administrator who speaks Spanish. She will be able to provide information to the parents and families about the ESL program, the supporting resources, and the importance of the WIDA access that is administered in March in our school district. After teachers are evaluated, the teachers will meet with the administrator to review the program and offer suggestions to the teachers. In June, when the WIDA access scores are released in New Jersey, the administrator will meet with the ESL teacher to review and analyze test scores. These scores will determine the placement for identified MLs for the following school year. At the beginning of the year, professional development and training on the Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol, SIOP, will be held for all teachers. There will also be an additional PD that will take place during our PLC Common Planning Time, which meets 3 times a week. This will be a time for our teachers to meet with the ESL teacher, discussing the WIDA screener and scores, and also as we interpret those test scores and how we can utilize the WIDA Can-Do descriptors to support and drive instruction in the classroom. So I feel it's very important to not only know those scores, but what those scores actually mean in terms of a student's ability within that classroom. And it is very important that the ESL teacher plan that time in the beginning of the school year so the teachers have a very good understanding of what those students are able to do and their expectations in the class. Parents and community members will be informed on student progress throughout the year. As stated earlier, parents will be invited and encouraged to attend a biannual meeting about the WIDA access and the ESL program. Parents will receive a progress report quarterly and a midterm progress report to show the student's progress. The parents will be informed on how their student is performing in the 4 language domains, which consist of speaking, listening, reading, and writing. Teachers will use Class Dojo to communicate with parents daily. Class Dojo is an online classroom management platform, an app, where teachers can record and track student behavior, facilitate classroom activities, create student portfolios, and engage school-to-home communication. It can also be translated to multiple languages. Additionally, it is user-friendly and parents can see pictures of their child's daily projects and activities. This really helps keep teachers, the students, and the families connected, which is one of our goals here at Deerfield Township School. Families and community members of Deerfield Township School are invited to attend a multicultural night that will be held in the springtime. The administrator and the ESL teacher will fill that night with an array of food, music, and activities to celebrate our students' culture and heritage. Parents are also encouraged to make a dish that is part of their culture. A multicultural evening will promote cultural awareness and appreciation, equity, and inclusion in our school. As I conclude tonight's meeting, I would just like to reiterate the benefits and the importance of the ESL push-in model that I would like you to strongly consider for the upcoming school year. The ESL push-in model is grounded in the belief that all students deserve equitable access to rigorous academic content, peer interaction, and real-time language support within the general education classroom. The push-in approach allows the ESL teacher to collaborate with general education teachers to provide contextualized language instruction during content lessons. This also ensures that our multilingual learners are not only developing English language proficiency, but also staying engaged with grade level curriculum. In fact, research shows that students in inclusive push-in settings tend to outperform their pull-out peers in both language acquisition and academic achievement, as they benefit from social integration and consistent exposure to academic discourse.